Hey guys, this is Ben Leibovich coming at you again. I have a quick note before I get into the subject matter for today's little video. My good friend Brandon Turner, some of you may know who he is. He told me a long time ago when I make these videos to prop the computer up so that I don't look like I'm looking down at people because it's not a good look, you know. Guys, I just got the kids to bed and I'm recording this thing because I have like 10 minutes and I think it's important to push this information out. I don't have a whole big, internet marketing space set up in my house so that I can do it just right. So I apologize if it looks like I'm looking down at you. I'm not. This is just a laptop with a thing on it and the thing, and there it is. There's the video. So hopefully it's good enough. Hopefully the content speaks for itself. And speaking of the content, I received a question on one of the blog posts from before relative to the classification of commercial property. You know, A class, B class, C class. How do you know what it is? You know, how do you tell it apart relative to the property, location, and relative to tenant? Well, while the classification apply across the board in terms of, commercial, in terms of multifamily, in terms of retail, in terms of strip malls, of course, I deal in multifamily, and so that's where we're going to stay as multifamily. Very simply put, there's like a liberal arts way of looking at it, and then there's a kind of an accepted norm way of looking at it by the book. By the book part is easy because all it is the age of the building and the newness of the location and the desirability of the location. So if you are in a new subdivision and it's a gated community and homes in this community have been built within the past 7 years, and the price point of these homes is in the top 15% in the zip code or in the city, you are in an A location. It's where people with money, with means, will choose to spend their money. Okay? They're probably overpaying, but they are willing to overpay to be in that location. Notice the thing about location comes up all the time. It's not so much about the building, it's about location. So when you talk about classification of locations, A class, the most desirable areas in your town. B class, very clean, very functional, very close to shopping, everything you would want, but not as new, not as pristine, more affordable, okay? But still, well taken care of. Maybe not 7 to 10-year-old buildings, maybe 20 to 25-year-old buildings, but very well taken care of. Still very appealing, very competitive to the end user. Then C location is where you get into some of the functional obsolescence and some of the deferred maintenance. You've got older buildings, maybe 30, 40, even in some cases 50 years old. You get, in terms of price point, compressed in terms of rents and in terms of purchase price. So, less desirable. If the B is where people that want to be an A want to be, but they don't have the money for it. So that's where B's go. And the C is, you are kind of, there's a term for it. It's called transitional. Okay, you are not really living, pulling yourself by the shoestrings every month necessarily, but you are not totally stable. Okay, because you can be stable making $300,000 a year, and you can be stable making $60,000 a year. Well, with $60,000, you're in a B class. With $300,000, you're in an A class. Okay, so that's kind of, I hope I'm painting you a picture, because a lot of it is subjective. Okay, the age is the easy part. The condition of the property is the easy part. Obviously, A class, perfect condition. B class, not quite as good, but only because of age. It's been taken care of. It's been, you know, whoever the owner is has been keeping up with it. It's not as new, but it's not obsolescent. It's not malfunctioning. Everything works like it should. It's just not as clean. It's not as new. C class is where you get into, you know, some issues. Okay. D class, we don't want to be in because in terms of capex and keeping up the property, it's just going to bleed you. And in terms of convincing good tenants to come live there, it's just the hardest job you ever want to do. So you don't want to be in D class. So this is kind of the short story of how you look at it. A class, you got, you know, 4, 5, 6% cap rates. A B class, you got 6, 7, 8% cap rates. C class, you got 9, 10% cap rates. D class, who cares what the cap rate is because now we're going to have it because of CapEx. Hopefully you are getting this, okay? Classifying people, tenants, as A, B, and C class. Again, hopefully I kind of alluded to that. You've got very, very stable, high-income professional people who don't buy a house, not because they don't want to, they can't afford it, but because they're either here for a job for a couple of years and they don't need to buy a house for it, or because they don't want to mess with it. There are a lot of people who don't want a house. They would rather spend big money on rent and have somebody else worry about leaking faucets and clogged toilets. Okay? That's A class. B class, stable people. Maybe white collar, entry white collar jobs, maybe a little higher blue collar jobs, but stable people. C class is where you run into, again, a little instability, both in terms of employment and in terms of just, you know, I find people are less stable in their personal lives. You know, things are in more of a flux. They're not kind of concrete. Here I am. This is what I am. I know who I am, and it's just easy. Okay, it gets very difficult to talk about these classifications, and a lot of it is psychology, and a lot of it is perspective. So it's very difficult to define. But hopefully, this helps you. I hope it helps you. Feel free to leave me a comment. My name is Ben Leibovich with Just Ask Ben Why. Have a great day. Bye-bye.